I've mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. I have a lot of stories that I want to tell, so we're going to talk about it. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Skye. I'm a fantasy author who typically writes paranormal romance under the name Kota Hegyes, and recently I've been doing a series of videos where I go over all of my pen names and all of the projects I write under them. In the last video I talked about my retired pen names and those projects. And this week we're going to be talking about any future projects that I want to write starting in hopefully 2025, but probably closer to 2026 and beyond. If you like this video and you're interested in learning more about future projects that I want to write, or any projects that I'm currently working on, or any of the past projects I've done, feel free to subscribe to this channel to get notifications about all of the videos that I post as I post them. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get started. There are 5 pen names that I want to write under in the future, starting in late 2025, early 2026, probably closer to late 2026, early 2027. Not all at the same time. It's all right, I promise. 2 of these pen names actually may never get written under. They may get dissolved and the stories, ideas that I want to write under them, put under different pen names. And we're going to go ahead and get into that. Please note that if the book is not published yet, the covers that you are seeing on the screen are not the final covers and are still works in progress. Thank you. The first pen name I want to write under is Dakota Hoffman. This would be for any of my contemporary romance stories. Of course, like all of my projects, these are all more closer to new adult than young adult as far as like the writing style goes, and contain the fact that it has some adult themes more towards like taboo subjects and violence and cursing versus of a sexual nature, because I am not really one who would like to write stories of a sexual nature. I do sometimes include them, so don't count me out with those, but they're not my favorite thing to write. I'd rather write the foreplay leading up to it and kind of keep you in the dark on the actual things that happen behind closed doors kind of thing. I like to tease but not give you a taste. You are not allowed to have your cake and eat it too, okay? Not here. Sorry. The first under this pen name is a 4-book series called Surrender. This is an interconnected standalone series where they are better read in order because you do get cameos from previous characters. However, each book is about a different couple, so you don't have to read them in order. These are second chance romances, repairing marriages, getting out of abusive relationships kind of stories. And full disclosure, the series name comes from the title of a song called Surrender, and each of the books are actually lyrics from the song. The first one being Hold Me Now, which I have a draft of. Leave Me Never, which is book 2. I have outlined, but I haven't gotten any further with that. Book 3 is Say You'll Stay, which is just an idea form. I've got basic premise of an idea, but not anything outlined or anything further than that. And then the 4th one is Leave Me Never, which is again like book 3 in an idea form, but not really outlined or drafted or anything like that. The second book is called Best Friends Don't Kiss. This is a standalone novel about 2 best friends. It's a friends to lovers, where she needs a place to go after some stuff happens and she is left basically homeless, and her best friend takes her in with the hopes that she can pretend to be his girlfriend in order to stop his mom from sending him up on a blind date with some of her friends' children. And then about the relationship they develop as they continue with this charade. This one's currently in rewrite stage. I have like several different drafts of this, and someday I will return to it. Currently, I have in my Notion that's a DNF, but every once in a while I get a new idea for it and I kind of jot it down because I'm like, ooh, I could go this direction with the story. So it's not completely out of the gate yet, but it is a soft DNF, not going to happen anytime soon kind of thing. The third book that I would like to write is also a standalone. It's called Endless Starry Nights. This is also in rewrite form because I have a completed draft of this that I actually hand wrote in notebooks and then typed up from those notebooks, and is currently just sitting and rotting on my desktop computer. But this is actually about an author who's had their career explode in a negative way after their husband has basically stolen their funds in the divorce, saying that they have rights to all of their writing projects and all the funds made, the royalties made from their writing project. It is very messy, but she escapes to this bed and breakfast inn that is being run by a gentleman who is a comic book artist who has returned home to take care of his ailing mother, and it's her bed and breakfast, and about the connection that happens between both of them while her best friend is setting her up on blind dates and that are going horribly wrong. Next pen name that I have projects written under, these are magical realism romance. I'm not positive if that's the actual name of the genre, but it's the closest I can get because these are all like Red Thread of Fate, Red String of Fate, alternate universe soulmate kind of things. And this is the pen name Isabeau Hawke. This is a co-author partnership between me and another person where they have come up with all the ideas and the outlines, and I will be drafting them. And we decided together that I would not start drafting them until like 2026 earliest, maybe even later. We're still up in the air about when we're actually going to get started with these projects, but right now we are aiming for late 2026 with these. Not even just publishing, just writing. And the first one of those is a 3-book series called A Love Like That. This is an interconnected standalone series, which is also better read in order because it does have cameos from previous characters. And this is a soulmate alternate universe where time freezes for 24 hours on someone's 21st birthday so they can find their soulmate. And both of them will be unfrozen while everyone else in the world is currently frozen. The first book in this trilogy is called Long Before Dusk. It is in draft form. I have not written too much on it, and honestly, this was written after I started book 2, realizing that book 1 needed to happen first because it was more of a prequel with some other family members of the characters in book 2, which is called Long After Dark, which is also in draft form. What I mean by draft form is these are both outlined completely, and I started writing out some ideas and tossed them to my co-author. We decided together that the stories need to be changed as far as like their order goes, and that's what I mean by draft form. They're ready for drafting. We've developed some ideas for them beyond the outline stage, but there's been no official writing done on them. And then the third one, which is only in idea form, is Long Past Dawn. The second series is actually a duology called Office Love. There is opportunity for more books in the series, but this is the 2 that she came up with ideas for currently. This is also an interconnected standalone series following office romances and the Red String of Fate. These all have the same theme, but they have different businesses or different couples within the business. These have both been outlined, and they are called Love and Flowers is book 1, and Love and Chocolate is book 2. The third series is a 4-book series called Season of Second Chances. This is an interconnected standalone series also following the Red String of Fate. These are single-parent romances following the same theme at the same school, but involving different couples. The first one is called Spring Dreams. The second one is called Summer Wishes. The third one's called Autumn Farewells. And the fourth one is called Winter Kisses. The next series is also a 2-book series. This is an interconnected standalone series, and it's called Small Town Holidays. This features the same town and theme, but involve different couples that are not necessarily related. This is a small town holiday romance, and these are more enemies to lovers or with rival families, kind of like a adult version of Romeo and Juliet, if you will, where the lovers don't die at the end kind of thing. And again, like the office romance ones, these are open for more books, but currently only has 2. They have both been outlined. And the first one is Home for the Holidays, which follows around the Christmas holidays. And then the second one is called Something to be Thankful For, which follows the Thanksgiving holiday. The final book that will be published under Isabeau Hawke is a standalone novel. It is outlined. It is about a young woman whose red string of fate is broken, and she partners up with a young man who also has a broken red string of fate. He can see the threads that are broken, and she can see the threads that are connected. And together they start trying to matchmake various friends and get them together, and it's about the shenanigans that follow that. The next pen name that I have is Kota Hegyes. This is the paranormal cozy mystery pen name, in which I only have 1 series planned for it, which is one of the main reasons that this pen name may actually get dissolved. Because as much as I like this pen name, if I don't end up writing more books under it, it would be better to just take these books and publish them under another name that the genre fits in as well. And because it is paranormal cozy mystery, they would be probably published under SD Hegyes, since that is my fantasy all subgenre name. But the series is an 11-book series called Mayweather Mysteries, and this is about a young woman who lives in a small tourist town. She is a baker. She owns and operates her own bakery, and supernaturals are out in the open in this town. They are very, for the most part, they are very friendly towards the supernatural community. In fact, she is a human that was raised by a werewolf pack, but it is obviously there's going to be shenanigans going on in the town involving mysteries and murder. So there's that. I actually wrote the first draft of this in 2018 because we were traveling up here for my grandmother's wake and funeral, and then during the drive up here, we passed a pink building that was falling apart, and I swear there was a sign outside it that said it was called the Sugar Shack. I have no idea if I was imagining that or if it really was there. No one else read that sign, so I'm thinking I misread it. But anyways, I got the idea that her bakery would be called the Sugar Shack, and then my mom actually came up with the idea for the town name itself, calling it Mayweather. No idea where she pulled it from. It could be from Sleeping Beauty, but I have actually never confirmed that with her. So I like to pretend it is, even if it's not, and will let me pretend that. These books actually must be read in order because each one continues from the previous one. And part of the reason I might also publish these under SD Hegyes instead of Kota Hegyes is because they might not be as cozy as I would like them to be, just because I know the way I write, and they get a little darker than what I think is possibly canon for cozies. So they may be more urban fantasy than cozy mystery in the end. And that might be another reason they get published under SD Hegyes. But the stories are 0 Bites, which is currently in draft form. It was actually a story where it was not originally the first one, and you will find this theme a lot with things I write. I wrote book 2 first, and then was like, oh, I need to know the backstory for such and such characters, so let's go ahead and write that book. And then I go back and write book 1. But book 1 is called 0 Bites, and it is draft form. The second book is called 1 Spell. This is actually the one I wrote when we visited Montana, and it is currently in need of a rewrite. In fact, actually, I would love it if someone who is more versed in paranormal cozy mysteries than me would actually read through it in its very raw, very, very unedited form. I have drafted it, and that's it. I haven't looked at it since, honestly. And I would love it if someone who is more familiar with the paranormal cozy mystery genre than me would take a look at it and tell me whether or not I'm like fooling myself. That's what I would honestly love, and I haven't gotten to the point where I'm ready to tackle that option yet. So I haven't even asked anyone if they can. But that's what I ultimately would love, is just for someone to read through it and be like, yes, this is cozy mystery. No, it's not. I don't care what the answer is. I just want to know. And while I've read some paranormal cozy mysteries, comparing them to what I have written, I don't think mine is cozy mystery. The order and number of these books throws me off all the time. There are 11 books, but the names follow the numbers as well, with the first book being 0 Bites, book 2 being 1 Spell, 3, 2 Fangs, 4, 3 Scratches, 5, 4 Howls, 6, 5 Victims, 7, 6 Bodies, 8, 7 Graves, 9, 8 Rituals, 10, 9 Coffins, and 11. Jesus Christ, I knew I was going to screw up somewhere. 11 being 10 Survivors. Book 1 is currently in draft form. Book 2 is in need of a rewrite, and I would love for someone to read it and be like, yes or no, cozy mystery. Don't care what the answer would be. Book 3 is currently in draft mode because I had started it before I decided I wanted to go back and visit some of those side characters in a previous story. And then the rest of them are all in idea form. I have like a paragraph summary of what I want to happen in each of the books because I needed to know. And beyond that, I got nothing else. And because of that, and because it's the only series that is going to be published under Kota Hegyes at this time, it might get reworked and just shoved under SD Hegyes. And if it does, I won't be publishing anything under this pen name. But that's a decision for future Skye, not current Skye. The next pen name is my non-fiction pen name, Skye D. Hegyes. And I actually only have one story idea currently for this because I had never really intended to write any nonfiction, but I have done enough writing prompts and I had enough people asking me if I was planning on doing a writing prompt book that I was like, yeah, sure. I will take all these prompts that I've created and put them together in a book form, and hopefully sometime next year I will have a book coming out called What's Your Story that is going to have 1,000 writing prompts in it. I also would like to have some short story examples. In fact, my kids wanted to read the book, and so I proposed an idea to them where we all will read through the prompts, pick some of our favorites, and then do a vote, maybe with my subscribers on my YouTube channel, and have them pick some of the prompts that they would like us to write stories for. And so the story examples I'll include in the writing prompt book will be some of the ones that possibly you guys have picked from the ones we've liked the best, and we're going to write some stories based on them. I might even rope my husband into it because he used to write stories too. So it might be a family fun project where we take our own ideas and show how we can develop a story based on a writing prompt with some caveats in there. Those caveats being that 2 of us are mature adults, one of which hasn't written a story in like 20 years since we were in high school together, and he was writing Zelda fan fiction. And then the other 2 being my children who don't have as much experience in writing at all and are still learning in the ins and outs of writing. And I think that would be super fun because it would show how writing prompts can be used for all levels and all skill levels, all age levels and stuff like that. So more to come on that in the future. But for now, it's going to contain information about, it's going to have the 1,000 writing prompts, the examples of short stories that can be used based on those writing prompts. And then I would love to include like a list of writing challenges, word crawls, and other information. I just haven't decided what all information might be in it. So if you have some ideas, feel free to shoot them my way. Leave a comment down below and let me know if you have any ideas. That would be really cool to include, of either something you have seen in a writing prompt book that you would like to see more of, or something that you just think would be really cool to include that you haven't seen before. So there you go. Open invitation to get yourself involved. I would love you forever for it, honestly. I really would. But that is currently the only one planned under that pen name. Will there be more? Possibly, because I am always coming up with different writing prompt ideas. And so I either might do a couple more writing prompts, or I might even do books where I talk about my processes and how I do things in a more articulate way in writing form. I don't know. There's possibility for more books, but currently only this one is coming out. And that's the only one I'm going to worry about right now. The final pen name I have is also one that may get dissolved in the end and just go away completely, and that's because it's erotica. And as I mentioned previously, I'm not a huge fan of erotica. I don't really enjoy writing smexy scenes. I don't really want to write them. There are lots of reasons for that, but because of that, my pen name Regina Sykes may never see the light of day. It's up in the air at the moment. I only have 2 ideas for it anyways, and both of those could be developed into more paranormal romance stories versus erotica paranormal stories. The first of the 2 stories that I have ideas for, I've got the start of a draft for one of them and an outline for the other. The first one, which I have the start of a draft for, is a standalone called Cthulhu's Bride. This is about a village that every 20 years offers up one of their young maidens to Cthulhu as a bride. And it's a kind of Hunger Games situation where he chooses one of 2 sisters and the other sister takes her place. So it's a monster romance with enemies to lovers, and the idea involves tentacle porn. That's all I'm going to say about that. But it is currently in a draft form. Not very long. Originally it was written as a short story where I just kind of dumped all my ideas, and it was about 20k long, and those ideas definitely need to be fleshed out further and will bulk up the story to novel length. But this could be turned into a soft paranormal romance, or it can be softened to a paranormal romance if I took out a lot of the tentacle porn. So it may end up getting published under SD Hegyes in the end. It's one of those things where I am not positive about that. When I first came up with the idea for it, there was another author-tuber who was doing anthologies, erotica anthologies involving gods, and I thought I wanted to possibly publish to that anthology, and then I decided in the long run I just didn't have time to dedicate to that story at the moment, and it wasn't something I really wanted to focus on. So while the idea has stayed, it has not fully developed beyond drafting mode, and actually that was when I did this brain dump of all the story ideas that was about 20k in length. The second of the 2 story ideas is a reverse harem erotica called Her Four Horsemen. It's exactly what you think. A young woman in her last year of college answers an ad to be a roommate to the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. This is also a monster romance reverse harem, obviously, and I have an outline for it. But again, not really wanting to do erotica. I would like to avoid it as much as possible, honestly. In my mind, I think this would actually be really fun to write as a paranormal romance. So even if I do publish erotica romance under Regina Sykes, I might still pull this one and do it as a PNR, a paranormal romance, because in my head, I think it would be really cool to write this kind of in the similar way as the manga and anime called Ouran High School Host Club. And if you don't know what Ouran High School Host Club is, it's about a young woman who goes to this really prestige high-end school on a scholarship. She is the only student, as far as I can remember, who's there on a scholarship. Goes to a library in order to get some quiet so she can do some studying and eat her lunch in peace. Accidentally knocks over a very expensive vase, and the young gentlemen who are running a club in said classroom that she escaped to offer her a deal, not realizing at first that she is a girl because she looks and dresses like a boy. They offer her a deal where she can work off the cost of this very expensive vase by joining their host club. And it's very cute, more crush-based versus romance-based. It is a romance, but it's more crush-based in her relationship that she develops with all of these young men in this club. And in my mind, her Four Horsemen would be perfect in this kind of situation, where we have the Four Horsemen, which each have their own different personalities, and maybe they all develop a crush on this college student they ask to be their roommate kind of thing. I think it would be super cute as a paranormal romance, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't want this to be an erotica. I want this to be a super cute Ouran High School related reverse harem paranormal romance with some cutesy vibes versus some horrific vibes and some erotica vibes. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm leaning more towards that. It may still get published under SD Hegyes as a paranormal romance instead of a reverse harem erotica under Regina Sykes. Alright, that is all I have to tell you guys about today. That was all of the pen names that I have planned for the future. Again, starting in very late 2025, possibly late 2026. Basically, these are coming in the far, far future, not anytime soon. If you watch this video all the way to the end, go ahead and leave me some kind of shooting star emoji. And my question for you guys today is, how far into the future do you plan pen names and or stories? Just because I'm curious to know. None of these pen names are published. Some of them may never get published. And yet I'm sitting here with all of these ideas. Some of them have been like written and need editing or rewriting. Some of them need just to be further developed. Some of them may never see the light of day. But either way, it's still fun to have all these ideas and have something to look back on if I need something to work on. So I'm curious if anyone else does the same thing. In my next video, I'm going to start talking about all of the stories I have under my main pen name, SD Hegyes. And let me tell you, I had to split this video up into 3 parts by itself because there are so many. That's all I have for you guys today, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, Dragonlings.